Hi guys, again I'm back with my fourth video based on the chapter first of Indian economy development, Indian economic development, and we are covering chapter first Indian economy on the eve of independence, and I am covering the very fourth topic of the same chapter. I have already covered the three chapters in my earlier three videos where I have discussed low level of economic development, agriculture sector during colonial rule, industrial sector during colonial rule. So if you want to have a look on those videos, please go ahead because that would help you to understand the chapter from the beginning. Okay, so now in this video I'm going to start with the India's foreign trade during the British colonial rule, right? So India were involved in trade with rest of the world. So here it is, foreign trade. So what was the condition during the British rule? As you know, I'll cover this particular video again with one very value based question and or hot question. In this I'm putting up the question that the most important characteristics of India's foreign trade throughout the colonial period was the generation of large export surplus, but this surplus came of a huge cost to the country's economy. But this surplus came of a huge cost to the country's economy. Do you agree with the statement? Go. I have valid reason. Sorry, it's a typo error over here. It's a give valid reason in support of your answer. You may correct it. I'll correct it right now if I can. Yes, I can. Here I have done the correction. Fine, perfect. So give valid reason to support your answer, right? So if the statement asking do you agree with it, so you need to start your statement as I told you earlier. The given statement is correct to its character. Yes, it was India's foreign trade toward colonial generation of large export surplus. The India was exporting goods at the time of British colonial rule, but a huge cost to it. That export surplus is not giving any benefit to the country, not increasing the reserves of the country, not helping in the growth of the country, but yes, rather it is bringing a huge cost to the country's economy. So how it was bringing cost to the country economy, let's see in this particular question. So the given statement is correct. As I told you how to start the answer, be very careful, don't write yes I agree, yes I don't agree. No, that cannot be accepted in board examination. Start your answer in such a way. From the ancient time, India known as a trading nation, but the policies adopted by the Britishers adversely changed the structure, the composition and the volume of foreign trade of India. Very important line. At the beginning or before colonial rule, India was trading with rest of the world, but somehow the moment Britisher came to India, they changed the entire structure, composition and volume of foreign trade. So what I refer to this structure, composition and volume, I'll be discussing in further 3 points, 3 bullet point. India paid a huge cost. How? In the following term. First, the exporter of primary product and importer of finished product. As I have discussed earlier, British colonial policy was completely clear or completely significant that India has to export or give away all its raw material that came from the primary industry, that is primary sector. So they make India a primary product exporter. At the same time, they insisted to use Britishers' good finished products that they produce in British industries. That again the people were bringing in the country and insisted people to buy those products, and people also got this mental attitude that yes, these products are comparatively cheaper to the handmade goods, and they start using it, consuming it. They have not any, they had not any choice with them. So what kind of goods they take away, food grains, clothes, kerosene, etc., were rarely available in Indian market because these all things were they were exporting. India became exporter of a primary product like cotton, raw silk, indigo, whereas importer of a finished good, cotton, silk, woolen clothes, capital goods like light machine and produced by the Britishers. Now don't get confused that capital goods we are importing, so we are producing. No, very light capital goods that are basically used in the primary production only. So that was helping to the agriculture sector indirectly somehow, those capital goods. So nothing related with the helpful in industrial sector. So that was the state under the of the foreign trade, as the India became the primary product exporter of the primary product and importer of the finished goods. Second thing, drain of the Indian well. Drain means something reducing. Indian well start reducing because exports plus surplus what they are getting. Though the inflow was there in terms of currency, but that has not been used by Indians. That was used by the foreigners for various purposes, for their own various expenses that they were doing at that time. So the export surplus did not result in any inflow of gold or silvers within the India. The amount raised through the exports was completely dedicated for the expenses done by the Britishers, either for setting up their office, setting up their office by the Britishers, or import of the invisible item, or what fought by the Britishers. So whatever the wealth they are earning through that export surplus is completely utilized by the Britishers for their own benefit, or for running their own administrative expensive or fighting wars. So that was the state of in terms of wealth. Another thing is monopoly of Britishers on the foreign trade policy. When we say monopoly of Britishers on the foreign trade policy, that means the all trade policy were made and implemented by the Britishers only, and that all policies were focusing on the help on the benefit of the Britishers only. So now half of the foreign trade were restricted to the Britain. They were allowed to take and to bring the things to from the Britain to the India, and only few countries apart from India we were dealing with, that was China, Ceylon, Sri Lanka, Persian. These were the few countries we are dealing. Apart from that, moreover, to have better accessibility of Indian resources, construction of Suez Canal. Very important question. Suez Canal can be asked in a separate 2 or 3 marker question. Suez Canal is basically a canal that was made by artificial waterway, basically running from the north to south across the isthmus of Suez in northern East Egypt. So basically what Britishers has done, they connected a port on Mediterranean Sea with the Gulf of Suez and an arm of the Red Sea. So they have created a port or connected the port. Now what was the purpose of connecting or making this very particular canal is to provide a direct trade route for ships operating between the European or American ports and ports located in the South Asia, East Africa and Ocean, by doing away with the need of sail around Africa. Basically they are connected in such a way that India can the connectivity between India and Britain can be possible through various way to it. So they have created this, that this was opened in 1869, which actually purpose is basically to export or to import the goods from or within the India, right? So the main purpose of creating this canal, as the cost of transportation become less as compared to other mean of transportation. At the same time, it was very easy to access the Indian market, right? So that was the Suez Canal, in which you can mention it in the under foreign trade policy, how this very particular Suez Canal. So the hot or value based or MCQ can you ask, the main thing is 1869 thing that when it has been established, what was the purpose was to reduce the cost of transportation and the made to access to the Indian market. So that was the main purpose, right? So this was the basically the foreign trade. And when we talk about this very particular point, these we are talking about the structure in which we are talking about how the India became exporter of a primary product and importer of the finished product. And one more thing I would like to mention, which I have not mentioned over here, that volume and the direction of the India's foreign trade was more than 50%, more than 50% of India's foreign trade was restricted to Britain. Means I have mentioned, sorry, half of the means 50%. Yes, I have mentioned. So more of the 50% was restricted to. So that was the volume that you can talk. I have just discussed the structure and composition and volume. So composition, what kind of goods that we were exporting and importing among with the rest of the world apart from Britain, and structure itself, we became importer of finished good and exporter of primary good. So this is what your structure, composition and volume was completely changed when the British came and ruled the country. This is sufficient in this particular video. I hope you understood the concept that what you need to write, especially when you talk about the India's foreign trade during the British colonial rule. So my next video, you will be understanding the you will be understanding, or you will be learning the next topic of this chapter, that is India's demographic condition during the colonial period. Thank you. This was small video. Okay, fine. Bye. See you soon.